Let's give me here. Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin brief for Monday, August 25th. Gonna be a little shorter video today. Got a lot of stuff going on. And at this particular time of recording, I am dealing with my kids a little bit. So we will get started. Bitcoin will be the main focus, hence the Bitcoin brief title. We will focus on ETH and Solana a little bit. But we'll get started here. So first of all, we had a pretty big drop down again. We've had a number of these for the past week, even 2 weeks, you could argue. A lot of discrepancies on the market. A lot of people are either really fighting or just kind of silent. And it's quite interesting how silent the market is. I've mentioned before, I'll get into this on the monthly, how we have a major bear div, and this needs to be a concern. I don't care if you think that this is going to invalidate or not. I don't care if this hurts your bullish feelings. Okay, I am not a bear. I want to emphasize that, and I'm really tired of trying to defend myself with this. I look at what the charts say. Okay, I was a big advocate of buying close to this area, and I remember the same feeling that I'm getting right now about this, and I don't care if I am right or wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just looking at the markets and seeing how this works. The monthly div here is a bear div, and the reason I say that is because divergences are one of the easiest ways to tell you that there is an issue with the supply and the demand and the momentum. Okay, when mainly momentum actually, but momentum triggers into supply and demand because the momentum is not here. The trend is here, hence the market trending upwards, but the momentum is not. That's where divergences come into play. Like the RSI, which a lot of people make fun of, okay? And that's another thing you got to defend. It's like, well, Otsu, why are you still using the RSI? All these cool, smart people use heat maps. Well, and a lot of those people are wrong quite a bit. And look, again, I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong. I'm looking at what this is telling me. And so this is where I actually disagree. RSI is a very strong indicator that's been around. It's been time tested the most, really since the 70s. I would probably say. I can't verify this for sure, but my point is that RSI helps you identify momentum. Right now, we can see that there's a trend, hence the price is going up. We don't need an EMA for that necessarily, although we do have one that does show a trend. The trend is going up for the price action. The RSI is going down. And so this is where it plays into a lot of other indicators are like this, by the way. But what I'm looking at with this is that we have a div here, and that shows me that the momentum is off relative to the trend. And so now I'm looking at this to potentially come down. I've been very vocal that if we go below 6 digits and we go into 5 digit category, the cycle is over. I think I don't think if we do go below that, I don't think we come back from that, at least for another cycle. And that's where a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't make sense because the cycle sucks so far, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter. I don't care about FOMC. I don't care about Powell. I don't care about Jackson Hole. I don't care about any of these other things that we have been looking at. And honestly, those things that people have been looking at is what makes people what makes people believe that this cycle has sucked. Like these people believe that the cycle has been, and I'll agree, this hasn't been, this has been my least favorite cycle, I'd say, but that's not necessarily because of any of that. Like what I'm looking at is a lot of people put their minds to all this speculation, and so they don't trade. They don't trade. They don't trade. Like, oh, FOMCS, FOMCS. So it's like I trade, then I don't, then I trade, then I don't, and then people finally trade. They high leverage, and then it comes back down. Like all these are signs of too much speculation. They're not in control of themselves. They have too much emotional weight to their trading, and that's what makes them believe that the market is just crap. Okay, like you mean to tell me, like and there are people out there. I understand this. I know that there is. We had a bottom marker here of 16,000. Let's just say 400. Okay, I bought under 20,000. So, and I'm not trying to compare myself, but I'm looking at the charts right here and seeing from 16,400 all the way to the previous high of 115, almost 116, and honestly, it went up really high, up to like 123 and plus. You're telling me that nobody made money here, that very little money was made. Like I've gotten messages from people that say they have no money. Okay, and look, I am sorry to hear that. I really am. I have compassion, despite what my tone is saying here. And I react much differently to people that are going through things. I'm going through things in my own life. But you're telling me that as the market went up, your net worth has gone down. Okay, again, I'm not trying to be callous, but there is something wrong with that, and something needs to be adjusted. Are you spending too much? Are you over leveraging? Are there life events going? And some of these things you can't control. You cannot control. Okay, you're talking about someone who has a special needs son, and sometimes I gotta pay for things that I don't want to pay for, or do things that are very inconvenient to me, or my daughter spent 4 months in the hospital, so there's other things that I got going on myself too, and so it's okay if these things happen. Okay, it totally is. It's not what I'm not trying to guilt trip anybody, um, but what I'm saying is, from bottom to even the most recent is almost $600 or 600%. It pretty much is from top to bottom. You're telling me that this has been unprofitable for you? Like, okay, granted, it hasn't been, the previous cycle, which was 16, almost 1700. Okay, so yes, it's been less profitable on the charts, but I want you to look at this. Like, from your portfolio, if you've been here since December 1st of 2022 to now, so almost 3 years, you have not 6x on your portfolio. I mean, have you? Because if you haven't, then you probably should just trade Bitcoin on the monthly. Or let's put this a little bit in perspective, because it's like, well, Otsu, that's not fair, blah blah blah, because you're not going to get talked about, and I totally agree. So let's look at the 200. Actually, not even that. Let's go on the weekly. You can do either one, but actually, we'll just stay on the monthly. The monthly break on this to current price is 289. Have you made almost 300% on your portfolio since March of 2023? So about 2.5 years. Have you made 3x, almost 4x on your portfolio? And if you haven't, you probably should just be holding Bitcoin. And that's what I'm trying to say here. That's why I have more Bitcoin brief videos. I focus more on Bitcoin because it is the catalyst for all the things here on crypto. Whether correlation is there or not, I think that's a different video. But this is what I'm trying to say. A lot of people are panicking right now. I don't think there's any reason necessarily to panic. Not because the price is going down. I think that's panic worthy. But what makes this not panic worthy for me is that this is in my realm of expectation. You should always be looking at how things are going up or down, and you need to find a way to strategize with that in mind. Because I think a lot of people are buying other coins that they're not using proper risk management. They're not picking their coins. Like I'm sorry, like you don't buy some random coin and put all your money into it. And so, and maybe that's not the case. I don't know one way or the other, but I'm just looking at the markets, and I want to zoom out a little bit and focus on the fact that there are people that have almost no money right now by trading. And I just don't understand. And they blame the markets. They blame how crappy the markets have been. They blame Powell. They blame the FOMC. They blame all this stuff. I've been talking about FOMC since like here. I've been saying it for a whole cycle now to avoid it, and I have avoided it. Okay, please pick a random observations with Otsu video, just a random one, because 80% of the time I'm talking bad about FOMC. I am talking against looking at it. I don't even know when the next one is. I heard it's in September. I don't know when. And I don't care when. Okay, when I see it on my screen on Twitter, I roll my eyes. just because it's another thing to get you focused on something other than making money. Okay, it's like, well, that does have an effect on how I make. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have an effect. Okay, and you know what I mean by that. I'm not saying you can't look at it. I'm not saying it can't move the markets a little bit here and there. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what can you do personally for your portfolio? And the first thing you can do is stop making excuses for everything except for yourself. Okay, and I'm saying that to myself as well because that's how I got out of it. Okay, I got out of the rut because I was in debt. I was blaming everybody except for myself. And there is an extent where you can't control your environment. I understand that, but there are lots of the things that you can control. Okay, you can control to an extent how much you spend. You can control to an extent how much you make, or what you want to do, or if you want to work for something you're interested in, or not something you're interested in. And I understand that there are times in your life where you can't. Okay, there was a time in my life where I was cleaning toilets. Okay, as a job, and now, I mean, I'm not better than anybody else. But now I'm doing like programming and trading, and I've got two businesses, and I'm not perfect, okay, and I don't make a lot of money compared to someone else like you see on Instagram. I've devoted myself to change that. Okay, and nothing's perfect. I got extra taxes. I got all these other things. There are cons that come with that, but the thing that I stopped doing is stop making myself a victim of somebody else's thing. Okay, I refuse to be a victim of FOMC, or to trading crappy, or to looking at my portfolio in disgust and trying to explain to my wife that I lost more money again. Okay, I stopped trying to do those things, and that wasn't a perfect journey, but it was an improving journey. Okay, so I'll digress from that. Sorry for the lecture, but I think that is relevant today. A lot of people just want to blame everything, and I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you. There's definitely some things you can blame on other things, but what I want you to know is, what can you do? What can you improve? How can you leverage? And maybe leverage isn't the right word, but what can you do in your life to change what you have going on with your trading? Okay, so anyway, I guess that's kind of my rant for today. But that does pertain to this monthly here that I was looking at. We do have a monthly div here. I am concerned about this. If we go below, honestly, the marker really is 102,426. I do kind of round down to like 5 digits. If we go into 5 digit territory, that would confirm the 102. That's why I'm looking at that. And so if we get that, then I think the cycle is over. A lot of people, there are some people starting to think that we're going to go to 80,000, and I think that we certainly could. If we do, I think that's too late. I do think that that's too late. So we'll see how that goes. But I didn't really want to focus too much on the monthly, but I feel like that was relevant to talk about. Monthly or weekly, we had a lot of protection here at this zone, and so to give you some sort of hopium, I do think that we can recover. I do think that we can. Okay, there's a chance that we could go all the way down to 102, which isn't that far away, and then propel ourselves upward for one more run. Okay, but that's the mentality that I think people are trying to focus on. Like they're focusing too much on, well, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. That's exactly the type of mentality that people have during the euphoric stage. My investments will come back. They're with good people. Okay, Wall Street cheat sheet. Go ahead and look it up. Like this is a pattern that we have on ending, like phases that end the cycle. Okay, we are here. Whether you believe the top is in now, or whether you believe the top is in 9 months from now, or anywhere in between, we are much closer here than you think that we are. Okay? And so, forget Trump, forget the FOMC, forget all this, like all that's drama to get you off track. Okay? To get you off track. Because a lot of people that preserve their wealth are not looking at that. They're not. They're golfing, or they're traveling the world. or whatever. Are they losing money right now? Maybe, but that's not what their goal is. Their goal is wealth preservation, right? And so that's why, I do. My goal here in the next year is to get my financial certification and start another company for wealth management. Okay, because a lot of people I know in crypto, there's people I know that I talk to every week, that are worth 10, 15, 20 million, $50 million in some cases, and they are scared, and they're not scared because of the markets necessarily. I think they are in a sense, but long term they are scared because they don't know how to manage their money to keep going in the same trajectory that they've gone. Like some of them have made millions on meme, like literally millions of dollars on meme coins. And my thought process is, okay, that can end at some point. And whether it ends or whether it doesn't is not the point. The point is, once you've made a certain amount of money, you need to start preserving that wealth. Okay, it's a really dumb. I mean, your goal, if you have 1 million, if you have $100 million, your goal should not be how fast can I get to 1 billion or how fast can I get to 200 million. Okay, that should not be, in my opinion, that should not be most people's goal. Your goal should be how can I keep that 100 million. Because if you try hard to go from 100 million to 500, chances are you're gonna risk that 100 million. Like, and you may even think, well, I could risk 80 million of that, no problem. And then I still got 20 million left. Well, then the problem is if you somehow do that, then you're like, well, I gotta double down on my my 20 million, and it becomes a cycle where none of that is the point, because you're not focusing on preserving your wealth. You're focusing on gambling your wealth. Okay, and that's a shame, because $20 million as of right now is more than enough money for one person and actually a family of people to live off of their entire life unless something changes. Okay, and so, but that's the thing. Like, once you have enough money, you can help preserve it, and you can help leverage that in a healthy way to continue to have that grow without having to go to the casino, so to speak, to do it. So anyway, a little bit of rant today, so I apologize. I'll get back here into the charts, but I think that is relevant because a lot of people really want to try to. I mean, that's why a lot of people are in crypto, because they want to retire like right now, and I understand that. I really do. But a lot of you are going backwards, trying to go forwards about this. And the reason you're going backwards is because you're not letting the forwardness play out properly. So anyway, I do think that div is very concerning. Let's go back to the daily, however, and I actually want to switch charts here a little bit. I've already got this marked out on these levels here. This is the deviation level I really looked at, or the deviation from this level I looked at. This was my sign to say, hey, I think the markets look kind of bad. I think bull market is off. Is turned off for the time being. We had a little bit of pump fake here on the daily. It still looks good. This is a double bottom. I still think this looks healthy. We had two good wicks here, so I think there is room for this to come up. And this is where, despite all the negative things I've said about the market so far, none of this is set in stone. Okay, you should never think things are going to go up or down until you get confirmation. That's why a lot of people got stopped out recently. It's because they thought the market was going up and it didn't. Instead of waiting for confirmation that the market will go up and then adding when that happens, or adding at a bottom. Okay, you should not be adding high leverage on like a top scenario necessarily, unless it's a breakout. Like, you should never be doing high leverage anyway, unless you're comfortable doing that. Only do things you're comfortable losing. Okay, but right now we have a double bottom here. I think there is a chance that we can recover this. If not, then we're going into bigger deviation territory, which would be like a weekly situation here. The weekly level is down here at like 108. And so that's where, if we go below 108.5, I'm getting very concerned. And so that's where I would consider maybe taking some stuff off risk. But right now, we're still doing okay. We're not doing great. Very neutral on this. I'm not bearish or bullish here. Just neutral, waiting for this to play out. We may have a bull div coming up here, but this really needs to take some time to play out. Let's go to Ethereum. Spent a lot of time on here already. I'm going to switch this chart here because I need to save that for other videos. So you have a bear div right here at the support zone. Okay, and so this is the weekly. So looks pretty good. I think Ethereum looks great here. honestly. There's no div here, so this all looks good. But this is starting to crunch below the monthly. It still is. But here is the key region. We have a bear div at the resistance, and this is a very key confluence that we were going to reject here, and then we did. Okay, and so yesterday was a fake out, kind of confirming that we would continue to go down. So far, it's the case. We're still in a healthy, even though we dropped down 4%, this is still a healthy area. But I think this is still, my original thought process like 3 weeks ago is that this would be a reaccumulation here. Now maybe I maybe got it off balance, and it's probably going to be here instead. But we'll see how that goes. I don't like this price action necessarily, but it's not too bad. Okay, so we're just going to have to wait and see. The 4370 is a bounce area for me if we get it. Although it doesn't have a bounce area on the weekly, and so we'll see. The problem is when we start to go more exponential, you're not going to get the horizontal SR bounces as much as you used to. So we'll see. 4370 is where I'm looking at. Solana here down about 4.5, almost 5, not quite 5 actually. So had the resistance here, big drop down. I honestly think Solana, in my opinion, is just not as strong as other ones, and the market, the chart looks okay, but it's been getting a lot of rejections. So you have a big pump, super rejection, right? Rejection here, and I think that is one of the key things that tells me that this is not very strong. I think Solana is a strong ecosystem, but the coin right now is just not that strong, and I think it's kind of trying to follow Ethereum in some ways, and so I think the break of this 205, 206 range is kind of where I'm looking at for maybe a spot long. Not interested in any swing trades necessarily, but that's pretty much it. So, and a lot of coins are just looking terrible right now. I don't know why Bully's up 100% or whatever, but it's just that's how it is sometimes. But people fooling around maybe. So anyway, that's the video. I think I think there should be some hesitancy in the market. I don't think that being quick to trigger is a good idea right now. Just kind of waiting to see what the markets look like. So anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.